Hey y'all, welcome to Cmor of Life Unfiltered. We're your hosts, Sam and Alisha, high school sweethearts turned forever partners.
This podcast is about love, learning, and adventure.
We're bringing you the raw, the real,
and the unfiltered. Welcome back
to Cmor of Life
Unfiltered. So today we have an interesting conversation. It goes all the way back to our suggestion box, and it's one of the suggestions we received at our podcast reveal.
That is true.
Tell the people, Samantha, what are we talking about today?
So basically, we're talking about gender roles within our relationship or a lesbian relationship.
And I'm sure a lot of LGBT couples have fallen into some of the stereotypes.
Yes.
And then there are instances where we don't fall into it at all, but there's an expectation that we do.
Correct.
So let's jump right into it.
Let's go for it.
One of my least favorite things is for someone to come up to us and say, so who's the man in the relationship? And I'm always like, doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose of
two women in a relationship?
There is no man. Like, that is literally the point. Like, that's the definition of a lesbian relationship. Help me understand that. Like, how does that make you feel? And do we have anything like that happening here?
So I think that people get confused with the way things are done in a household and them being specifically tied to a gender versus what our household can look like.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of folks who aren't familiar with a same-sex relationship, they just can't wrap their minds around it, right? It actually makes them feel better if they can associate, okay, so you're the woman and you're the man in the relationship, then it normalizes it for them.
Correct.
And so when we say, no, just two women here, thank you, appreciate
just
it,
us.
you know, then it's like, oh, so now I need to think about, like, who's taking out the trash, right? Like, who's cooking the meals? And it's really not that deep.
It's not for us.
But even in some heterosexual relationships, it's not that deep, right? Like, a husband can be a caretaker of the children, can cook food and clean the house. A wife could be the breadwinner. Like, it's really, to me, not that deep.
Right.
So when folks think of that and they associate that with common household chores or common stereotypes, what would you say we fall in?
In my perception of what a heteronormative household looks like, it's more of this idea of who's the highest earner within the home, and then what roles fall to that person versus the other person who is making less or is a stay-at-home person. So I think in our regard, we might fall into those categories where we have one of us who earns significantly more than the other. So there's like roles that are attached to that, but not because they're gender specific, but more so because they make sense. So as the highest earner, I feel at some point we shifted into me logistically taking care of certain things to then you taking care of those things post school.
Yeah, and that makes sense because I was not always the one making the most money in the relationship. We have shifted throughout our relationship.
Right.
And when I was in school, I was not even working, right, during the school year. And so you were handling a lot more of those financial requirements, tasks, you name it. And yes, that has shifted. But I also think, like, outside of just like the financial aspects, we've never really said, like, this is what you are supposed to be doing, and this is what, or I make more money, so you should be doing this other thing, right? Like, that's never been a conversation. And I've heard people have those conversations.
Absolutely.
Right? I've had colleagues, I've had friends, we've had family members who have said, like, we have strict roles at home. And that's just never really been our thing. Like,
no, I think we're pretty fluid in how we handle
fluid gay people. Here y'all go.
I do think we're very fluid in how we handle our household tasks and how we work within our system at home, simply because things do ebb and flow.
Yeah.
You know, work dynamics shift, so finances shift, time at home shifts because of how work is, or the choice to be at home, or things like that. So I feel like we've ebbed and flowed over the years, so it just kind of organically transitions into what works best for us during that time. Like, there's not a time where we're sitting down and we're like, you know what, you need to cook more. Granted, I did tell her recently I do not love cooking, so please cook more. But that's more of just a fun conversation that we're just having, where I'm being silly. But I think we've just taken on the tasks that need to be handled based on what our life is like in that moment.
Yeah, I remember talking to friends, husband and wife, and they said how they purposely would refrain from certain things, like who would have the pink toothbrush versus who would have a blue toothbrush, and they just on purpose, so that they weren't going to necessarily raise their kids to think that, oh, only girls have pink and only boys have blue, and just little things like that, just to be intentional. And people will be in shock when I say my favorite color is pink, right? Like that's just always been the case since I was a little kid. And I was a tomboy, I played sports and all of that. When I would say it then, it was like, whoa. And if I say it now, people are like, really? And it's like, guys, it's a damn color. You know what I mean? Like,
doesn't make or break you.
It really doesn't. I don't necessarily need to wear like pink tutus. Like, that's not my thing, but I do like the color, right? And so for us, like, we've always, Sam might have the blue toothbrush and I have the pink one. I think that's probably the color of our toothbrushes now. I think I have pink and you have green or something.
Yeah.
So like that is just typical us, because what colors we like. But then again, whatever comes out of the packs, like, we're not really that picky on those sorts of things. When it comes to more specific tasks that some may see as more masculine, how do we typically fall?
Again, this goes to our like work-life balance, because when I was working in the classroom, I was gone in the early morning to make it to the school on time. So Alisha had a little bit more wiggle room in the mornings, which when it came to trash days, if she went to the gym early in the morning, she would take out the trash, or while I was getting ready for work, she would be taking out the trash. So it kind of worked out, and it just kind of became your thing. That's what you did.
Yeah, we also can't really trust Sam's memory.
That's very true, because I will take out the trash on the wrong day or put it away on the wrong.
You're trying to help, and one time I was like, you do know that
there's no
the blue bin does not go out on Fridays, right?
And I was confused as to why I was the only one who put it out, but whatever. Okay, so that's more her thing, and I think some people might consider that like a gender role, like the more mask presenting person is taking out the trash, but in reality it's like memory based and convenience, like time wise.
But also, like, you wouldn't not take the trash out to the trash can outside, right?
No,
like, you would do that, right? Like, the trash is full, you will take it out, put it in the trash outside.
Right.
I just may be the one to roll it to the curb because I have better memory, like, or flexibility in the mornings to get it done.
Absolutely.
And some mornings I'm like barely waking up and I have to roll it to the neighbors across the way so that we can still get it. And Sam will not do something
like that. I will not. I
like,
refuse.
no, don't worry about it. Like, they'll get it next week.
There.
And I'm like, just put it across. She's like, no, I'm not doing that.
Absolutely not.
So, the person who's just like, I don't care. What are they going to tell me? Does those kind of random tasks.
Yeah.
And I do think things like that trickle down into our relationship just generally.
Yeah.
Like, we're walking the dogs, and if I have dog waste in a bag, instead of holding it all the way till we get home, I will just throw it in a neighbor's yard. And Sam will
not in a neighbor's yard,
in their trash, like in their trash can in their yard, not fling it into their yard. But like, I will throw it into their trash can, and Sam is not going to open up.
I will not. I
refuse.
Bin.
She's like, no, I will just hold this until we get home.
It's out on the curb. Like, it's fine. No.
I'm like, it's right there. Like, it's trash. So, little things like that, I'm just more comfortable and I don't care. So I will take on those tasks.
Mm-hmm.
But you typically will go to the grocery store.
Yes.
Especially now that you're home, you will go more often than I would.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever you just have that time, like you randomly are like, I'm just gonna go shopping, and you'll go and do a full grocery. I'll go to the grocery store when I have to. It's not like one of my favorite tasks.
Yeah. But you're not a big shopper. Period.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. I hate shopping.
So I will go grocery shopping more often just because I, one, enjoy shopping. Two, I like to just grocery shop a bunch, and you like to be like specific and intentional about your recipes and things. Whereas I'm like, oh, this looks like it might taste good in a couple of days because I'll think about it then,
Yeah. And so then we end up trying some new stuff. We'll just call it that. New stuff.
Which is why she needs to cook more again.
I typically, that's another thing. I typically am the cooker, but I don't always have the time to cook the way I like to.
Correct.
Usually on the weekends, I can get more in the kitchen.
Yeah. Because Alisha likes to create, or shall I say invent, recipes where she has this idea and she generally puts it together, and it's great. It's fantastic.
I don't follow recipes. I
just
make shit up.
So then after she's made this recipe up, there's no recreating it for me. I can't recreate what she put together. And so I've tried. Trust me, I've tried. And we've like died of heartburn because of it.
I cook off feeling and love.
And I cook off of anger and necessity.
Anger and necessity?
Yeah, like, what the fuck am I cooking? I shouldn't be cooking.
So now we know what she's in the kitchen doing when I'm not around. Okay, can you start making my food with love, please?
I'll try.
Bless it.
Yeah.
Caress it.
And then every time you get home, I burn myself.
Okay. So we're going to not make Sam's gender role be going into the kitchen. She is more of the sit next to the person cooking.
Yes, and drink something while she cooks for me.
When we go back to the beginning of our relationship, which we were very young, do you think there were any gender roles or expectations that you brought into the relationship that you had to like reevaluate? I can't really think of anything that I was like, I'm gonna have to do this and you're gonna have to do. I really can't think of anything. I will say, when I was coming out, I felt a pressure to answer those questions of, why did you decide to be gay? I got that question a lot. And at that time, I can almost, I remember like 16-year-old me response. And it was like something along the lines of, I felt like I could treat a woman better than a man. Right? And that is just like, to me now, a very immature response.
Sure.
Right? But also, the question is immature, right? Like, why did you decide? Like, I woke up one day and I was like, you know what? This straight shit ain't working out. Let me start talking to women, like that wasn't, that's not how it goes. But I think that's the most expectation I've ever carried when it comes to gender roles. But as far as like being in the relationship and thinking that one person needs to do one thing over the other, I've never felt that way.
I've never felt that way either. I think my only expectation was that I wanted someone who would be protective over me. That was something I yearned for. So I knew whoever I was going to be with had to be someone who was going to protect me in whatever form that looked like, right? Like, it was just protection in general. I think that's a very sexy quality.
You bringing up protection. You may recall we were in a group setting once and protection was almost synonymous with masculinity.
Correct.
And I think we were both like, wait a minute, pause. Why are we why are we saying like you don't have to be masculine to be protective, right? Like our mothers are not masculine by any means, and I consider them to have been protectors over us as children. Even if I'm considered more masculine presenting, there are ways in which you protect me and vice versa. And so I've never considered like that to be a masculine trait or a male trait.
I agree. I was such a protector of my siblings as a young child, as a teen, I was the oldest, and I wanted to be protected in the way that I protected, in the way I showed love. So I knew that whoever I would be with needed to be someone who could reflect that kind of love back, because it was something I wanted. Being with a woman, I knew that that could look very different from the traditional, masculine, tough man, because that wasn't what I wanted. I wanted just like that protection of love and affection and being comfortable. So if I'm vulnerable and you protect my feelings, if I am, ready to fight, you're ready to fight with me, whatever that looked like. Just, that.
And I think that that's what we really bonded over, like when we started off as young as we did, was our relationships with our siblings, how we really saw protecting the people that we loved and cared about around us was something that we really connected on. And that's just really what blossomed our relationship overall. And so we've always had those qualities for one another. And so to me, that's never looked like a gender. It's just us. That's what our relationship is based on. So never was an issue for me. When you think about more specific roles like emotionally, romantically, financially, what would you say, who would you say fits into those categories more often than the other?
So I think in the emotional aspect, it's me. I'm the more emotional one. I do believe Alisha's very emotional, don't get it twisted. But she's very good at being logical within her emotions. She doesn't allow herself to be fully vulnerable. And again, she's very logical. So even in an emotional state, she can be extremely logical. I think I think romantically we've shifted over the years. I know I started out in the beginning of our relationship being like very creative and like the gifts and the little dates and the little activities we did, and then it kind of slowly shifted onto like Alisha being the one who comes up with these cute ideas and things like that. And I told her recently, like, I want to get back into that groove again and like have cute little moments where she comes home and the backyard's set up for a movie time or a show time.
And you have.
So we've shifted in that regard, but that's what I think.
The thing is, like, when you're together for as long as we've been together, things are going to shift within the relationship over the years, right? Dynamics shift. One person is working this type of job and stops and takes a break or transitions. Your schedules change. All of those things just go back to one thing: being flexible with each other, right? And if you're flexible within your relationship, all of these standard roles will have to shift, right? Because it's all about convenience and supporting one another, and it's less about like who's supposed to do something, right? So I think that that has always been kind of how we just navigated our relationship.
I agree. And I think that's how we break the stereotype of like who's the man in the relationship. There is no man, first and foremost and always, right? But also that idea that masculine energy needs to be assigned to specific things. It can change between partners and it can vary between situations. So I think that that's important.
And it's also about comfort level, right? So one thing that folks may consider to be more masculine, or like, yeah, my husband would have done that for me or something like that, is the fact that when it comes to the cars, I typically take care of that, right? I will schedule the oil changes, and if the check engine light comes on, things like that. Part of which is because I feel more comfortable going to the dealership If I need to cuss somebody out, I will. If I have to put on the lawyer talk, I will.
Alisha's very much more assertive than I am.
And so I'm not about to have my wife going in there and just feeling uncomfortable. So that's part of why that has been the way that we've done things. But it also had a lot to do with flexibility too. Like, you had to be in the classroom at a certain time for a certain time. Whereas for me, I can get my hours in whenever I get my hours in. So if I have to be at the dealership at 9 a.m., I could be there, whereas you needed to be in the classroom by 7:30. So again, that's just working within your relationship and navigating who's flexible and who can handle certain things and who's comfortable doing it.
Yeah, and I believe that part of that is our careers. They have led to how we approach these roles. And so it's nice to know that when things do change, we're able to kind of organically transition into the new roles. Like, typically in the mornings, Alisha would feed the dogs, take out the trash, because I worked very early. Now that I'm home and I'm able to work at my own schedule, she's able to go to the gym, go to work. She'll still take out the trash at the curb, but I can take out the trash from the house. I feed the dogs in the morning because I'm able to do that now. So, like, there are things that we have shifted in doing.
Yeah. And the thing is, when you are working around each other, that goes back to what we were talking about, protecting one another, right? So if you're trying to really be present in your relationship, seeing when those shifts happen, filling in as you can, doing the things like I was saying before that we know is about comfort, that's protecting you, right? And so for me, it was never about, oh, I'm macho, I'm masculine. No, I know where my wife's comfort levels are and where they're not. So I can go and take care of something that I know would not necessarily make her feel comfortable. Right?
Right. And because I'd be uncomfortable going to the dealership and having to say, you messed up my car. What are you going to do to fix it? Because it didn't come in this way. Whereas she's able to handle that business, and I'm able to sit in the car patiently waiting for her to finish.
Sam doesn't even want to come inside and witness it.
She's like, I get so anxious. I'm not very good with
conflicts like that.
Yeah, she's more assertive than I am. So when she can pull those cards out, I'm able to sit back and allow that to happen, which is why I think also certain things have shifted within the home, like how we handle scheduling people within the house over the years. I believe that became your role because you were more assertive. She's able to schedule an electrician, the landscapers, because she's able to have those negotiations and conversations. Whereas I'm like, that's the price you said? Okay, great.
So I was like, yeah, they said it's $300. I was like, did you try to get it for $275?
I'm like,
you know,
like, no. And she's like, I got this. So those are her tasks because they flow better for her personality. Whereas mine, I'd be like, you said 350, and she's like, they just said 300. I'm like, oh, well, I don't know.
I think that that's how you have to balance one another, right? Like, you got to know who's comfortable doing that and who's not. And don't go sending the person that's not comfortable to do that, because that's just, it ain't gonna work, right? It doesn't make sense. So it's all about balance, right? And so one of the things that I wanted to discuss is balancing femininity and masculinity within the relationship. I don't like calling it that because for me, it's just like, just show up as you are, be who you are. And it's always so surprising when Sam's like, Alisha is super feminine. I don't know where you guys get this from. Like, she has to get her hair done on time, on a schedule. And it's just like, guys, this is like basic grooming and maintenance. Like, but then we associate that with femininity. And I'm like, okay, then I guess I'm the girliest of girls, right? But it's little things like that that people don't realize. That's just me showing up. So I don't really ever feel like I'm trying to fight between these two urges or these two feelings. Just showing up as Alisha.
Right. And I think that depending on the situation you're in within your relationship, one can be a little more mask and one can be a little bit more femme. I think there are places within your home that those things can shift, right?
Sam's going into a different segment. Going into a totally
I'm
different
just
segment.
saying, it's important to understand that there are no roles. Like, you don't have to conform to this idea or stereotype or thought process that one person needs to be one way and the other needs to be the other way in order for you to work. Because again, it ebbs and it flows, but also it varies between situations on the regular. So it's not just an ebb and flow over time. It's a variation of how you're feeling, how you want to present yourself. And I think it's okay to shift and change.
Yeah, and I think, like, for me, I've always felt very comfortable just showing up in this relationship. You've never made me feel like, oh, you're being too one way or the other. And, like, people tend to associate femininity with weakness or being soft and things like that. And I've never felt like I couldn't be my authentic self and be vulnerable in moments or not. And so I just have never had this, like, power imbalance, so to speak. And so it's just always so interesting to me because we've met all types of people, and their story is different because every relationship is different. And that's normal. And I think a lot of it has to do with upbringing and the things that we've seen as children, either what you wanted to break away from or what you wanted more of. And so what would you say, like, growing up versus now, what gender roles did you carry over into this relationship, or that you said you wanted no parts of in this relationship?
For me, I wanted to be treated like a princess, right? So, like, I'm not sure that aligns with a particular gender norm per se, but I want to be the princess, the queen. Growing up, I saw two hardworking people living their lives, and I want to work hard, but not that hard.
Really, babe?
No, I'm just kidding. But, I wanted to be loved and cherished and given that treatment where it's like I feel beautiful and cared for. Sometimes I saw it, sometimes I didn't, and I knew that that's something I wanted.
Have you received this?
Absolutely.
Yeah, she's spoiled rotten. Anyway.
I chose wisely.
One of the things for me growing up, like, both of my parents are very strong, independent people, right? And so when Sam says, who's the more emotional one, and she says it's her, we just, as a family, we're just not an emotional family, right? I cannot tell you how many times I've seen my parents cry. It can't be more than 5 combined, both parents
and
together.
I'm pretty sure we've been together the whole time that she's seen her parents cry.
But, I grew up in a household that, like, we were very strong. We did not show weakness, and certain emotions were equated to weakness. And I knew that that wasn't necessarily right, but I also knew that that helped me get through a lot of things. And so I know I carried that with me, and that wasn't really gender specific. It was just more so culturally.
I'm glad you brought that up because some people in the outside world would view that as toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
That was pushed on to you as a child so that you had to grow up with it. So you had strong parents because they were raised by strong men who portrayed this toxic masculinity. But you just said an important word, culturally.
Yeah.
That this was something cultural.
Yeah, I think this was more of a, I'm of Haitian descent, and, like, I think it's associated more so with that than a gender, because I got it from my mom, and I lived with my mom predominantly in my childhood. So bringing that into this, there was a lot of, okay, you don't have to do every single thing by yourself. You can be vulnerable. You can show emotions. It's okay. And it's still a constant thing that we have to work through even today. But that's probably the only thing I can say, like, I brought into this in terms of gender role dynamics. And so it is more likely going to be me that's like not crying during like a conflict and feeling like, okay, you're being emotional right now. I don't know what to do. Should I give you a hug?
Should I pat you on the back?
Should I pat you on the back? Should I get out of the way? Right? That has been a process.
I will say, and growing up, I had a mother who showed her feelings in a very emotional way. So my response to things was always very emotional. And it's been a process trying to figure out how to think things through and express myself without immediately shedding tears. Not because I'm sad, but because my emotions are so riled up, I want to cry and speak at the same time, which is very difficult to do. So it has been a learning curve for the both of us, because she is, again, very neutral in the way she presents herself.
Not a robot, folks.
No,
Not a
but
robot.
very logical in how she presents herself. And so everything has a solution. And that's something we actually had to work on because of how she was culturally brought up versus how I was brought up. So I'm like, lay out my emotions on the table. And she's over here like, I need to think about how I'm going to say how I'm actually feeling so that I don't make you feel so she's constantly thinking about every step. And this is something we've had to work on over the years. And I do think it's strengthened us in different ways over time, where you're able to express yourself more in a more vulnerable way. And I'm able to speak a little bit more without bursting into tears because we're coming together in how we speak to one another.
Yeah, I agree that it has taken time, but we have progressed independently and together so that we can communicate better. That's really what it turns out to be, right? It's about like trying to communicate with one another. Another thing that I grew up around with my father is he has always been the boss, right? Like, so I have developed a lot of his personality and his persona. And so some of that could look very masculine, you know, if I'm in a situation where I'm with people, I'm going to take care of the bill, right? Like that's just something that my father always did. I grew up watching that, like him taking charge in those ways. And so, and one of the things my dad would always say is like, oh, I'm not going to get out there and do certain things. So as masculine as he was not going to go out there and cut the grass, right? Like he will pay someone to cut the grass.
And so therefore she pays someone to cut
So we always had everything done around the house, but he was never the one doing it. And so part of the reason why I do schedule a lot of things is because I don't want Sam thinking that we're going to be these DIY lesbians.
Even though sometimes I just want to be. I just want to be.
No, I don't want to do it.
No, and then every time we start, it's like World War III, and it's no joke. So I know she doesn't want to do it. And after a couple of hours of her being upset and me being annoyed, it's not worth it. So I allow her to schedule everything.
No. This is what really ends up happening and why Sam gets over it. Not because I'm not complaining while we're doing it. She gets upset because I don't feed her. So if we're going to be people in the labor union, we need to work from sunrise to sundown.
Let's be very clear. I did not get this voluptuous by not freaking eating, okay? Let's be very
I'll be like, all right, babe, you want to get this task done? Let's start right now at 8 o'clock in the morning and let's just keep powering through. And then it'll be like 4 in the afternoon. She's like, so what time do you plan to feed me? And I'm like, we're not done yet.
She's like, oh, I eat at 5 p.m. Okay, great. So I had a little bit of breakfast this morning. We go to the office. I had my little breakfast while at the office because she's not eating till 5. It's 5 o'clock. It's 5:30. It's 5:45. She's going to come to me and say, we're going to leave here at 6:15, okay? Because that'll be 30 minutes. Ma'am, are you feeding me today?
So you're calculating
I didn't
the time
ask
today.
anything. But then we get in the car and she has the audacity to say, are you hungry?
That has nothing to do with the gender roles.
At all. But you know what? I want to be very clear, okay? when I'm hungry and we're doing DIY, I'm not a happy person. So, but Alisha, again, does not like to do, I'm sorry, it's not that she doesn't like to do DIY. She prefers to pay for someone to do the DIY
pay for
us.
Convenience.
Yes.
Have my time back.
Which I totally understand. There are some times where I just want to do a project, but I totally get it. Convenience and time are very important to her because she's a very busy woman. But that is something that would fall into a gender role in her household growing up, right? That was something her dad did. So she kind of does that in the same way. And I grew up in a house where my dad was very handy, actually very creative. For example, if I had a project that I needed to work on, he actually helped me do a lot of my projects, which was really great because he had this creative mindset that was also very hands-on. So he could build something from scratch. So my dad can literally strip a house to bare bones and rebuild it without a problem.
My daddy ain't doing that.
So I'm very much like DIY or bust, but then I'm busting during the DIY and I'm over it. So, you know, I have a little bit of both.
So if you were going to rewrite what a relationship should look like, how would you do so?
Whatever works for you.
I mean, it's true, really, because like there is no it should look this way or should look that way, right? Like, and it just again boils down to if you're trying to be, to me, in a healthy relationship, you got to be flexible. It's really hard, I think, no matter what relationship you're in, to say one person's always going to do this thing and another person's always going to do this other
Correct.
thing.
And I think that a lot of people say, oh, it's 50-50 or nothing, right? That's not realistic. Yeah. Not in the grand scheme of things. And some people feel that it is, and more power to you. But after being together for so long and so many different phases of our lives, we were high school students, we were college students, we were first-time home buyers, we were landlords, we were renters in a big city, we were homeowners again. So like we've experienced so many different phases in our relationship that during those phases, we became different people and we had to learn and grow. And when you're going through those life changes, just like the gender roles ebb and flow based on where you are in your career, how your time management is, you're not always going to be 50-50 because there will be a time where someone doesn't have a job. There will be a time when someone's making less. There will be a time when, for some, you have kids and whoever stays home is staying home. So life changes and there's this expectation that you'll be 50-50 or bust. It's not realistic. When they say 80-20, yes, and that shifts sometimes too. It can be 70-30, it can be 60-40. It really just depends on where you are in your relationship. Sometimes there could be one person giving 100% and another person giving 0, and not in the way that you're like, oh, they're not here emotionally for me, but sometimes someone's going through something medically that you didn't know was coming. It just hits you and you have to go through it to be there for that person in order to get through that portion of your life. So there's so many things that change with time and you just have to be willing to embrace that.
So what advice would you give someone who's dealing with that, or a couple that are dealing with those sorts of pressures of finding their role in their relationship?
You have to give yourself time, grace, and accept that there will never be a perfect 100-100 in the grand scheme of your relationship.
I think the time is so important because everyone wants things to be perfect right away. First of all, they're never going to get perfect, but they can get close to perfect over time, right? So give yourself that time to learn what the other person needs from you and what you need from them. That's the only way that it'll actually work out. And that's how you get to figure out, okay, here's how I can show up for my partner, and here's how my partner can show up for me. And that will be your roles. It's not going to be based on gender or anything else. It's going to be based on comfort, flexibility, schedules, things like that work within your relationship.
Yeah. I want to say one last thing. I believe that if you're gung-ho on gender-specific roles within your relationship, then you should seek people who feel the exact same way. It's unfair to expect someone to come into your relationship
That's a good point.
and change their mindset just because you believe that that's what they should do. If that's a conversation you are having with this person and they're willing to be open to changes, then both of you should be open to changes, because when one person is the only one willing to change, it can create issues along the line when the other person's not willing to give in on something themselves. So I would highly recommend that if you are specific in your gender roles, you stick to people who experience or want to experience a relationship the same way you do. If you are not, be open. Gender roles are a thing of the past and today. They change with who you are, they change with how you grow, and they change within your relationship. So keep that in mind. Be open.
I want to leave with one myth.
Okay.
That you want to nix when it comes to lesbian relationships.
One myth. That in every lesbian relationship, there's a man. Because we're two women. Okay? Lesbian relationship. Two women.
Dose. For me, it comes to a very intimate part of lesbian relationships. And this idea that only one person is a receiver and the other person's a giver. I think that is such a myth. Now, I'm not saying that's across the board. Every relationship is different. But this idea that every lesbian relationship works that way is just not true. Everybody's doing different things in their bedroom. You should try it.
I agree. You'll be surprised.
Before this turns into a different segment, until next time,
continue to see more of life
unfiltered.
Thanks for sharing this moment with us on Cmor of Life Unfiltered. If you felt a spark, learned something new, or just laughed along, hit follow, leave a review, and share this with someone who needs it.
You can find more love, learning, and adventure at cmoroflife.com. That's CMOR of life.com. And across our socials at cmoroflife_.
Until next time,
keep living unfiltered.